So, big welcome. Thanks for coming, everyone. Just let me know, people in the room, make sure you can hear too. Helps if you turn on the public address system. So my name's Mark Nunberg, and this is Gabe Keller-Flores, and we'll be leading this 6-week introduction to mindfulness meditation class. And I like to always begin by doing some practice. And we have people online joining in, and we have those of you in the room. But let's just settle in, and you don't have to change your posture. It's interesting, we think to be awake to the present moment, we have to look a particular way, but just feeling, sitting in a way that's comfortable for you, and just noticing what you notice. Notice what the mind is knowing or what the mind is feeling. And just see if you can leave your experience, whatever it is, whatever's predominant, just see, can you leave it alone? It's interesting, we have what we call a mind or heart, you could say. But what's interesting is how uninterested we've been in our mind. So if it feels comfortable, you can let the eyes close if you haven't closed them already. And just see if you can bring your attention, the awareness, and just feel the sensations in the head and face. For example, you might feel the air touching the forehead. Notice if there's any tension there in the brow, around the eyes. Can you feel the weight of your hair? If you have hair. Feel the mouth and the jaw. Notice the tongue and the mouth. Notice if the lips are touching or apart. And then simply receiving the sensations of the head and face, whatever that's like for you. And we're recognizing that this experience, all the sensations in the head and face, whatever they might be, we're recognizing that they're being felt, they're being known here and now in the present moment. And can that be okay to be sensing the sensations in the head and face? So it's not complicated. And I'm sure you understand there's nothing particularly special about what we're feeling in the face, in the head. But what is special or unusual maybe is that we're aware of what is being felt here. That just means we're recognizing that these sensations are being known here and now. We can do the same with the neck. So when you feel ready, just let the awareness, the attention drop. Feel the throat, sides of the neck, back of the neck. And just take some time. And again, in this receptive way, we're not trying to fix anything. We're not trying to evaluate the sensations we're feeling in the neck. We're just simply being aware that these sensations are being known, being felt. We're keeping it in mind, in a sense. keeping the sensations of the neck and throat in mind. Feels like this. And it's important now to explore, well, what kind of effort do you need to make to keep this simple experience in mind? And we're just tracking the felt sense of the neck, the throat, as it actually is. Not our ideas about it, but just what we're feeling as sensation. You can do the same now with the tops of your shoulders. So just follow the sides of the neck right down into the shoulders and shoulder joints, of course. We're not even trying to make tension go away, although that might happen when you feel tension. Sometimes it does pass away. But we're doing this other kind of training where we're keeping this experience of the shoulders in mind, and we're specifically recognizing that these sensations are being known or being felt here and now. It's like this now in the shoulders. And can it be okay just to let these sensations, whatever they are in your shoulders, just to let them be what they are? So we're not for them, we're not against them. We're just aware that the shoulders feel like this now. And then now both arms at the same time. Just the ordinary sensations that are available to feel. The bend of the elbows, for example. Perhaps for some of you, the air touching the forearms, the bare skin. And wherever the hands are making contact on the lap or on your thighs, just feeling the touch points as they actually are now, sensations being known, being felt, the palms, the fingers. And one of the great skills we'll be learning is how to be intimate with ordinary experience, like now feeling both arms and hands. How to be intimate and at the same time just let things be. So really attuned, sensitive, but not needing to change or fix anything. Just letting these sensations in the arms and hands be the way they are. And let's bring our attention now to the torso. We'll begin at maybe the upper third. So the chest, collarbones, upper back, rib cage. And in a sense, just let the awareness, the interest settle here in the upper part of the torso. Feeling how alive this is with sensation, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. In particular, notice the neutral, like your shirt against your skin. We tend not to notice all the neutral sensations. We tend to focus more on what's pleasant or unpleasant. Subtle sensations, gross sensations, and just letting it all be. Intimate and letting things be. And when you feel ready, let the awareness settle into the middle part of the torso. So the diaphragm and the solar plexus and kidneys in the middle of the spine. Just being here present, remembering that these sensations are being known here and now. The middle of the torso feels like this now. Can this be okay? Just to be feeling, allowing these sensations to be what they are. Not having to be in conflict with unpleasant sensation. Can we be relaxed with the unpleasantness we might feel at times? Can we be at ease with any pleasant sensations we're feeling? Just letting them be. Dropping into the abdomen and the lower back when you're ready. And include the entire pelvis. You feel the sits bones against the chair, the cushion, floor of the pelvis, the belly, lower spine. And again, we're learning how to be intimate with ordinary experience, feeling the lower part of the torso and the pelvis. Just letting the experience be what it is. And from our hip sockets, when you're ready, begin to feel both thighs. And even when places in the body seem somewhat nondescript or like nothing's happening, just continue to feel what you feel. We're learning how to be interested in experience that's relatively neutral. So we're feeling both thighs, any obvious touch points, the pants against the skin, then down into the bend of the knees and the shins and calves, feeling whatever's here to feel, letting these sensations be what they are. And feeling both feet just as they are. The sides, the tops of the feet, the toes, any sensations along the bottoms of the feet, including the heels and the ankles. And feeling the whole body together. So in a way, we're learning how to be open, or just to be a little more provocative, we're learning how to be vulnerable or exposed to the bodily sensations now, whatever they might be. The subtle sensations, the gross, obvious sensations. Body feels like this now. And can this be okay in the sense of, can the heart be wide open, feeling what we're feeling without needing to change or fix or get rid of or hold on to. As if this is the very first time we've been authentically interested in sensation as an experience being known or felt in this immediate, direct sense. Body feels like this. Sitting feels like this now. Can this be okay? Just to be feeling the body the bodily sensations. Feeling them and letting them be. And this is what it means, or one way to sense what it means to be present, to be awake, to be aware that it's like this. We can use the experience of the body sitting, bodily sensations, and we recognize, oh, they're being known, being felt here and now in the present moment. So being present is like this. And now, interestingly, see if you can stop being aware, like if there's an off switch. There's really no obvious off switch. Awareness, in a way, is a natural part of the mind, but one that we tend to be oblivious to, forgetful of. This part of the mind that recognizes that this is being known. So you could call it a reflective awareness or reflective knowing. Just like we can be reflectively aware that the mind is thinking. Oh yeah, thinking is like this. So we're not lost in the content of the thoughts, but we're aware that there are thoughts being known, or there are sounds being heard. There are sensations being felt. There are sights being seen. So for the last few seconds, just opening to the totality of our experience sitting here. First and foremost, we are sensitive. Just comes with the territory of being a human being. So in a sense, we're embracing the truth of our sensitivity. And we're just letting whatever it is we're sensing, we're just letting it all be. And what's that like? To be sensitive to whatever it is we're sensitive to, and just letting that experience, all those experiences be. No need for conflict or struggle. You don't even need to know if we're doing it right. Just letting things be. And when you feel ready, just opening the eyes. And if you need to adjust your body or stretch a little, you can do that. So again, nice to have you here, everyone. And Gabe and I will be leading this class, mostly together, but there's one of our 6 weeks, I'll be out of town and Gabe will be here leading. And I think it's fair to say that, Gabe's a lot younger than me, but in our adult life, we've both been very interested, you could even say passionate about awareness practice. And I know it's kind of ironic because if we were to interview a bunch of people on the street, what's the big deal about awareness, or are you aware? I mean, most people just assume, hey, I'm aware. Why would you need to be, build a building like Common Ground and have a Buddhist meditation center? In Common Ground, we have a retreat center out in Western Wisconsin. What's the big deal? But as I mentioned near the beginning of the guided meditation, We all have a mind, presumably, but honestly, how often are we interested in our subjective experience of the mind? So I'm not talking about like reading a book about the mind, but we have this capacity, whatever awareness is, we have this capacity in a sense to look at the mind. I mean, not really look, but we use that word, to look or to open or to sense. And one of the obvious aspects of what we call mind, and in Buddhism, by the way, and Gabe and I will probably use heart and mind synonymously. So you might hear us use the word heart or mind or both. But we have this thing, whatever it is, we call it mind, right? And one of the obvious things about the mind is what we call awareness or knowing, right? But strangely, we can be reflectively aware of what the mind is knowing, can't we? I mean, I could go through the day, or you could drive home tonight if you drove here, and you'd get yourself home, so you're conscious, but you might not be aware of driving home while you're driving home. You might be thinking about work or, right? But there is a way you could drive home conscious of seeing and conscious of turning the wheel and all the things you do, sensitive, but aware of what you're sensitive to at the same time. Just like you could hear me talk, but you can be aware that you're hearing me talk. But that's in a sense, it's a newer mental muscle, isn't it? We're not so well developed to have that reflective awareness. Okay, Mark's talking and I'm hearing and I'm thinking about what Mark is saying, and all this is being known in the present moment. We can even, like, as you're hearing me, you can also be aware of your body sitting too, can't you? And you might have a mood, whatever that is. You think this is boring or you think this is exciting, and you can be sensitive to that too. So this is, I'm just spending a little time because we need to replace what we might consider a kind of arrogant certainty. Yeah, I know what awareness is. What do you think, I'm an idiot? We have to replace that with humility. Like, you know what, truthfully, even though like I'm 65, I haven't spent a lot of time actually authentically interested in my experience of my mind, whatever that is. I haven't used the mind to be interested in the mind. Isn't that true? I mean, for most of us, some of you, there are always exceptions. And, some of us, Gabe started coming when we were 16 at the center, right? Some people get interested when they're quite young and others not so much. But it's clearly a relevant thing. Being a human being, having a life, whatever the mind is, it's a relevant part of what's going on here. So it kind of makes sense that we'd want to learn how to be aware. You could say, be aware of what the mind is knowing, what the mind is doing. To, in a sense, watch it, observe as what we call me is doing my life, living my life. And then that helps us understand sitting meditation practice, which Gabe and I are mostly going to talk about. We'll also talk about practicing in daily life. Because the formal time when we put ourselves down on a chair, down on a cushion, time when the house is relatively quiet and the dog knows to leave us alone or the cat is in the other room, and we put ourselves down in our meditation spot, the reason we do that is we're training the mind to do something it's not trained to do. And so we want to do that training in an environment where there's the fewest number of distractions possible. That's what the daily meditation time is about, is we're building our confidence in our skill set so we can be more present throughout the day. we really want to practice our whole waking day, but we have to learn how to be present with our life when the conditions are relatively simple. So we sit, in a way that helps us be awake. So generally we sit up instead of like kick back in a lazy boy, because we might be comfortable, but we'll fall asleep. But we have to be somewhat comfortable. So everyone has a different body, everyone has different injuries, different age. You're just going to have to do the best you can at home. Often what's best at home is like a kitchen chair, for those of you who want to sit in a chair. If you don't have meditation cushions, you can roll a blanket to get to the right height. Some people are flexible enough to sit cross-legged. A lot of people who haven't been sitting cross-legged or done a lot of yoga, it's not, your meditation practice isn't necessarily the time to start sitting cross-legged. You can always develop that on your own, separate than your daily sitting practice. Right, so the posture, and Gabe will talk a little bit more about that tonight and more next week about posture. But don't make it a big deal initially. Just find a place to sit, and we're interested in the present moment. And the word interest is a really important cue, and you can use that like, can I be interested in what's being known? Because the mind, right, as long as we're alive and awake and not unconscious, then the mind is conscious. Can we be aware of what the mind is doing, what the mind is conscious of? And can we be aware? We have to do so much teasing out, because as soon as we're aware what the mind is conscious of, we tend to want to get involved. We become controlling, directing, parental. And how to be aware and at the same time leave experience alone. And now people misunderstand this point, and Gabe and I will be coming back to it over and over again over the weeks, the 6 weeks, because it can sound like, okay, so what you're talking about is being aware, but then that means I'm going to be passively aware. Well, that doesn't sound like much of a life, just sort of sitting there aware. But the thing is, it's true, when we're doing our formal meditation practice, we're sitting still, right? But that's not what we do all day long, right? So being aware of you making choices, being aware of you hating the person you're talking to, being aware of you really liking the person you're talking to, being aware of this agenda, this, right? So we can be aware of what we call me, like my personality and my reactivity and my hopes and dreams and desires and fears. We can be aware of all of that. And eventually we can be aware of it without it feeling like an awkward weight. But that's more like graduate level awareness practice, mindfulness practice, kind of being aware in conversation or in the midst of a lot of dramatic activity. That's not easy. We still do the best. We have every incentive to do the best we can. We just need a lot of forgiveness and a lot of patience and a lot of willingness to start over. One of the things Gabe will introduce is mindfulness of the breath tonight, but just generally being aware of the body kind of keeps us in the present moment. And we'll talk about this a lot over the 6 weeks, but you can just begin. That's why we did the body scan tonight. And generally one of us will do the body scan meditation at the beginning of each of our 6 weeks, so that you're just learning that you have this capacity, even in the midst of really busy, dramatic, difficult, pleasant stuff, you can be aware, oh, the body's like this now. Like right now, can't you? Just be aware, whatever that experience is for you, the physicality of your body, can't, in a sense, the awareness just drop in. Oh yeah, sitting's like this. And it may be relatively pleasant, it may be relatively unpleasant, it may be predominantly neutral, but you can just be aware, awake. Oh yeah, having a body feels like this. And where is that happening? It's happening here and now. So then as you do whatever you have to do, like listen to me right now, you don't have to lose that intimacy with the body. And it really helps us stay in the present moment as opposed to getting lost in our thoughts. Should have I signed up for this introduction to mindfulness meditation? Tuesday night, my favorite show's on. We can get easily lost, but when we're in the body and it's like an anchor, it helps us remember, oh yeah, present moment. There is awareness of the present moment. How do I know? Because I'm feeling the body, and that awareness of sensation only happens in the present moment. In a sense, we never lose the present moment, but we forget to be aware of it. That's the problem. One of my teachers, and just an important person in Buddhism and awareness, mindfulness practice coming to the West, said our only enemy in life is forgetfulness. And what he meant by that is we forget that we can be aware. And you'll see if you really stick with this, you'll see that that present moment awareness is really the root cause of all competence. To be really competent in life, at the important things in life, we need that continuity, some degree of continuity of present moment awareness. To be a good friend, to be a good parent. You think to be a good parent, I need the right book and I got to memorize it and it tells me what to do. But what really helps to be a parent or a friend or a partner or, whatever, is to be awake in the present moment, to be sensitive, to know it's like this. Because real skill is this ongoing navigation. We don't get a blueprint for anything that's exactly right? We have to feel our way through everything. So to have that capacity to be radically present while we're doing whatever we do in life makes a big difference. And when we think back to some of the real mistakes we've made that we regret, we often did it when we weren't present. We had a plan, it was just the wrong plan. I should say this to that person. And we say it, and then we realize, oh, I shouldn't have said that. But probably if we were really sensitive, aware, awake, oh, it's like this now, we would have had a better sense of whether I should have said something or not said something, or what should I have said, or how should I say it, because we're really there, both with that sensitivity, but also that breadth of awareness, the context, not our idea of the context, but the felt sense of what's going on. That's how we have a good conversation with someone, right? We're really there. We're really, in a sense, we've got phrases in English, feeling into the moment. So this is what we're doing. And, Common Ground is a Buddhist meditation center. This whole, idea of mindful awareness, of course, is just part of human common sense, I like to say. But, the Buddha made a big deal about it 2,600 years ago, and those teachings and practices that the Buddha set in motion way back then have obviously still reverberating, and places like Common Ground exist because it's so pragmatic, it's so functional for human beings to get interested in their mind and to realize the value of being present. So why don't we stretch our legs, and then I'll turn it over to Gabe. And we'll do in a moment or two, do another guided meditation. But you might want to stand and stretch a little bit so that you'll be comfortable sitting in just a moment. A little greater. For this method, there's some handout. Your email. doing one on walking meditation. Either Gabe or I will talk about walking meditation maybe week 3. But that doesn't mean you can't read the handout and start practicing on your own if you want. The walking practice.
So just continuing with this reflection on awareness in our own experience. I'll offer a few primary objects or anchors is what we call them. Just like in the first meditation, we were doing a body scan. So just sitting in a relaxed way. You might want to have your eyes closed. You can always experiment with having eyes closed, or if your eyes are open, just gazing gently a few feet in front of you in a relaxed way. And like Mark said, mindfulness of the body is really one of our best friends in developing, getting to know, growing in confidence in our capacity to be aware, and just getting to know what awareness is, because the body is always happening in the present moment. There's always a body when we check. So just remembering that now. There's a body, feels like this, here and now. And the body has this capacity to hear, which is just a natural function of the body if our ears work. And that's also something we can be aware of. Not a particular sound that we're looking for or focusing on, but just the background sound in the room and other sounds that might arise and pass. What is it like to remember that hearing is happening, hearing is being known, and just to keep that in mind in a really simple way? So again, we're not looking for any particular sound, just the way we might sit and watch cars go by or listen to the sound of a stream. We're noticing moment by moment this present moment experience of hearing as it changes, flows, but always happening here and now. So again, it's probably a pretty neutral experience hearing. So we're not expecting anything really intense or what we would think of as interesting. But we're seeing if we can be interested in that ordinary experience of awareness, knowing, hearing, just whatever naturally the ears hear. So this is the training the mind to be present with ordinary experience in the present moment. Not because the ordinary experience is special, but in order to get to know this capacity of awareness, to see if it's possible to train the mind to be interested in something simple, something neutral. And as well as being interested, we are seeing if it's possible to receive. So to know what's being known in a relaxed way, in a non-controlling, non-interfering way. So it's just hearing, it's just the sounds that are naturally arising and passing, being known, and nobody has to do anything about that. So it's this coming together of interest, or you could say intimacy, and this relaxation, letting things be. That's the heart of mindfulness practice. So hearing is one possible primary meditation object or meditation anchor. These are different words that we use. So this is one option, just receiving, tuning in to the experience of hearing. Another option is tuning in to the sensations of the whole body as we're sitting. And different areas of the body might be easier to feel, or the mind just might naturally tune into them. For example, the hands are sensitive, so we might feel the hands wherever they're placed. We might feel the base of the body making contact with the chair, the cushion. We might feel the whole uprightness of the spine, the head balanced on top. We might feel sensations in the face. So just this whole body awareness, this awareness that there is a body. How do we know there's a body? Well, because we feel different sensations. So just like with the hearing, tuning into the whole field of hearing in a receptive way with mindfulness of the body in this whole body awareness. We're tuning into the whole body, just the sense of the whole body sitting. And just like with hearing, tuning into that receptivity, different sounds come and go, tuning into the whole body awareness, different sensations come and go. But we don't have to focus in on any of them. We're just staying attuned to this experience of embodiment, being embodied, the different sensations that come and go. The feeling of the whole body sitting here and now. And seeing again if we can bring that interest, that intimacy, closeness, right with the experience, the sensations of the body, not our thought of our body, but what it actually feels like here and now. Bring that interest along with that relaxation, not needing to judge or control what we feel. Feeling the body in the body. The ordinary sensations, whatever they are for you, you're just meeting those, or just letting those come into awareness, feeling the ordinary sensations of sitting, and seeing if the mind can stay with, keep it in mind, moment by moment. So this is a second option as a primary meditation object or anchor, this whole body awareness, simply tuning in to the ordinary sensations as we're sitting and receiving them. A third option for a primary meditation object or anchor is mindfulness of the ordinary sensations of breathing. The instructions from the Buddha are breathing in, one knows I am breathing in, breathing out, one knows I am breathing out. Just the ordinary sensations of our natural breathing. However we might feel those in the body. Again, these are probably ordinary, neutral sensations. So again, the training is to see if the mind can be interested simply in knowing the ordinary sensations of breathing in and then the ordinary sensations of breathing out, wherever we might feel those. So just see for yourself as you're breathing in, what sensations are present. How do you know you're breathing in? And when you're breathing out, what do you feel? Where do you feel it in the body? How do you know you're breathing out? And we're not thinking about the breath, we're feeling the sensations of breathing in the body. Perhaps we feel the lungs expanding, the abdomen moving. Maybe we actually feel air entering the nostrils. A sense of release in the body as we breathe out. Sense of energy building, perhaps as we breathe in. But you can see for yourself what's obvious, what do you notice? And just see again if the mind can feel those sensations, be with them in a moment-to-moment way. Not interfering, not needing to have an opinion. Just feeling, breathing as the body breathes in a natural way. As an exercise, you might see if it's possible to be aware of one in-breath from beginning to end, wherever you're noticing that in the body. And then one out-breath from beginning to end. So now for the last minute of the meditation, let's put aside directing the mind to the breath and instead simply be aware of whatever the mind is naturally aware of, but not getting involved, staying aware, staying present, whatever the mind naturally is attending to. But we're remembering that it's happening here and now. It's being known. So just being aware in this choiceless way for the last minute. And if you'd like, you can practice this choiceless awareness with the eyes open for the last few seconds. Just gently gazing a few feet in front of you. Aware, but not needing to be for or against anything that we're aware of. Not needing to get involved. So we can end the formal meditation now and notice that maybe awareness continues as we transition, maybe stretch out, do what you need to do to be comfortable. So I'll pass it over to Mark.
It's useful, like after a set, to not think of the, intention to be present is over just because it sits over. And that's why, like at the end of your, you create a little time, hopefully at home, 15 minutes or longer, whatever you can do. Give yourself some time after your formal sit is ended, so that whatever you're going to do next, brush your teeth or make some coffee, or that there's just that intention, like, well, what does being present feel like as I do the next thing? So we're not like leaving it on the cushion or on the chair. So one thing we're going to do probably every 6 of the 6 weeks is have some time for questions and discussion. We learn quite a bit. Part of what we're doing is normalizing what it is to have a mind. So like, how was that for you? Not just this last meditation, but the earlier one, or some of the information that we've passed on, and questions that are arising, that also you're just reporting your own experience and not your interpretation of what happened to you, but like, what did you notice? And then how did you relate to whatever it is you noticed? And how was that? What happened next? We get kind of in learn how to just share in almost like a blow by blow way. Okay, this happened. The mind knew this, felt this, related in this way, then this happened. And it's kind of a more honest way to talk about our experience with each other. Anyway, not to make it too complicated. Any questions? And both all of you online and those of you in the room, what did you notice? What questions are emerging in what we've shared and in the guided meditations? And people online, you can just raise your digital hand, and Gabe and I will take turns responding to your comments or your questions. What comes to mind? Anything in the room here? What did you notice? What effects, if any? What was hard? What felt easy? What felt good? Yeah, it's not the important thing to understand, like, how is it that doing your sit every day is going to reduce pain exponentially, like when mentioned? But what the training does, it doesn't necessarily, it might in subtle ways affect the physiology, but generally, being present isn't necessarily going to affect the physiology. So if you have bone on bone in some joint or something like that, that's bone on bone. And there will be the nervous system where we sort of do what it does with that experience. But what the training really does is it changes how the mind relates to pain. And so much of our discomfort in life, so much of our real pain isn't the pain itself, it's the mind's reaction to pain. Ends up being more of what our experience of pain is about. And that we can definitely do something about. We're still going to have the normal insults. You bang your head on the kitchen cabinet, it's going to hurt. But because you've been developing your practice over months, you're just going to feel the pain of having hit your head on the cabinet. But the habit of the mind to react to it, to get tight around it, to make it a big drama, to hate ourselves for hitting our head, and all of that can easily be taken care of with the practice, if we do the practice. So in a funny way, we'll feel some things more, we'll be more sensitive generally. If you develop present moment awareness, you're going to feel more. Because a lot of times we go through life, we're kind of oblivious, right? But being present will keep you from relating to your ordinary joys and sorrows in unproductive, unhelpful ways. That's what the practice can do. And we'll talk more about that.
In that kind of non-distraction, little things can definitely be magnified. But I think what Mark was just saying is a really useful kind of invitation and something to explore. And in some ways, situations like that are just perfect for that sort of exploration, because, obviously, if we're feeling something that is going to harm us, we want to do something about it. But if it's an itch and we feel relatively, we understand that the body's okay, then this is one of the it's a really interesting place to practice. And it sounds like, even though you didn't maybe explicitly name it, but just with your laughing about it, that even though it maybe felt unbearable, that there was some capacity to be with it. And it's that sort of edge, and an itch is just a great example, because it can feel like unbearable. And that's where we get to practice, like, this feels unbearable, but is it? And just that question and that curiosity, and so much of what Mark was just saying about how we see how our mind contributes. Because, if we were just sitting here reading a book or something else distracted, the body might still be registering similar things. So it's that clear intimacy with things without the distraction that really highlights, this is what the mind does with unpleasant sensation, unpleasant experience, even the most minute ones, is it doesn't like it. And that can really build with that. So that exploration of just that, I know I can scratch this itch, if I need to, but what is it like to be with it? And we find with pain and with unpleasant sensation, we learn a lot about the mind's relationship to unpleasantness, and potentially this capacity of seeing how the mind kind of amplifies and contributes to it, with that attitude of tensing around it. So that's kind of one of the invitations or explorations, is what happens to this unpleasant sensation, this itch or whatever, if the body isn't also actively sort of tensing around it or resisting it. Because that's what we tend to do with unpleasantness. Like Mark was saying, we bang our heads, and not only is there the pain of banging our heads, but there's the inner sort of tensing, clenching, judging. Aversion is the classic Buddhist word. What we do with unpleasantness, we try to push it away from our experience, as if you can actually push something away from your experience when you're experiencing it. So it's in that kind of closeness with experience where we can see, what is this experience like? What is unpleasant experience like without or with less aversion? So maybe in some way that's what you were exploring. Thanks for sharing that. So time for one or two more questions or comments.
I mentioned a little earlier, when we're interacting out in the world and the conversation or the content is somewhat intense, that's like graduate level. It's not so easy, but we can always come back to this moment like we can right now. Oh, this is how it is for me right now, right? Can't we all do that? Just like tuning into the felt sense of this mind and body being here tonight, or being at home tonight, listening. It's like this now. And I think the question, Sunny, might have been, can this be okay? Which is that sense of being sensitive, feeling what I'm feeling, all of this activity of the body and the mind, right? Through the five senses, but also we're also sensitive to our own mental activity. That's the sixth thing we're sensitive to, right? Seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and we're also sensitive to mental activity. Can it be okay? And that's a question actually that can be alive right now for us. Like, is it okay to be sensitive now to what we're sensitive to? Or do I need to be in a defensive stance? Or can it be okay to be exposed to my life, like what's actually arising that I can be sensitive to, that I am sensitive to? Can it be okay? And then I think at the end of the sit that Gabe guided us in, he said something similar in that, did you call it choiceless awareness? I forget what you called it. Yeah, just like allowing different phenomena, internal, external, sight, sound, smells, taste, touches, thoughts, allowing experience to come and go. Can that be okay? Like, is it safe to be at ease, even in difficult moments? Why get tight? Just do what you can do when it's a difficult moment to take care of the situation. But why get tight? I mean, it's understandable we get tight because it's our habit, like Gabe and I have been saying, but we don't have to get tight. Yeah, thanks, Sunny. Did that kind of get at the question you were thinking of?
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Time for one more question or sharing, if there's one. Yeah, I think it's a pretty relatable experience. Anyone else experience thoughts distracting you? Yeah. So just to say that this is the habit of the mind. Our minds have been trained to think, and it's not that thinking is necessarily the enemy. Like Mark was saying, if there is an enemy, it's more forgetfulness. So I think just that intention to be aware, it is really a training, and this is why it's hard. It's not just a wish. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea, being aware. It's actually a training. So I think, yeah, like you were saying, I think it is a matter of keeping at it and beginning to sense what's helpful. So beating ourselves up isn't that helpful, even though it can be frustrating, but appreciating any moment where there is awareness and sort of building on that. And in some ways, some teachers remind us that it's not really up to us when the mind wanders. It's not like it's a choice. It's just the habit of the mind. What we can do is just being clear about that intention and being clear whenever we notice that the mind has wandered, and it's like we wake up again. Oh, the mind's wandered. I'm sitting here, I'm doing my meditation. Well, I'm just gonna recommit. So it's that thousands of times of just that recommitting in a really gentle way. One teacher, Jack Kornfield, says it's like training a puppy. So when you train a puppy, you don't scold the puppy, you just very gently, put it back. Yeah, you're gonna stay here. So that attitude of gentleness, of patience, is really supportive. But yeah, that sense that of kind of knowing what our intention is and using the primary objects in a gentle way, not in a way of, we don't need to get tight about it, but we sort of need to replace the mind's habit of just following its thought and using, oh, this is a great opportunity, sitting with my eyes closed, to just think through all the things that I need to think through, which will be the mind's habit. So it's totally fine when that happens, but we just take the opportunity to remind ourselves and remember what the intention is, and just to keep returning to that. And it's just that gentle returning again and again, that over time the mind does get some familiarity with what it feels like to be aware, and that there's a pleasantness to it, just to be with whatever it is, hearing or whole body awareness or breathing, and just the mind's ability to be with and to come back and to be with. There's so much we learn in that training. So I think that's another way to kind of reframe it, that this is the practice, that very active of training the mind is what's developing those habits. And yeah, so I would just say patience, perseverance, forgiveness. We need so much of that, and we learn so much of that in doing this practice. I don't know if you want to add anything, Mark, to that.
Well, maybe just related, but maybe a more specific way is like when that pattern of fantasizing or thinking or whatever it might be, sometimes we can drop a question in to help the mind see what's there in the pattern, but not easily recognize. And sometimes I'll just drop in the question, well, what's the underlying feeling? Like I see my mind wanting to plan. And then just, well, what's the underlying feeling? And then I might notice, oh, there's some anxiety going on. I'm anxious about something. And that's why I keep planning or keep fantasizing or whatever. Well, let me just feel that more subtle underlying feeling. And that might interrupt the need to go into distracted thought, because that was a way of avoiding feeling whatever the underlying feeling is. But if we're willing to feel what we're feeling, then there's less of a need to use mental proliferation to distance or to get, distracted, to get some distance from what we don't want to feel.
Thanks for that question. So with just the 5 or so minutes we have left, just wanting to share a few closing thoughts and words of encouragement. Because like Stephen was sharing, this in some ways is the hardest thing to train our mind to be aware when there's so many habits, personal and just collective, towards distraction. But hopefully, I'm sure if we went around, everyone would have a reason for being here. So just, and we've kind of offered some of our thoughts on the benefits of being present, being awake in our life. So yeah, just to reflect for yourself what that intention is for wanting to cultivate this present moment awareness that can really be supportive in our lives, and to recognize that it is a training. It's something that takes intention and thoughtfulness about how we're going to, hopefully have some time for formal practice on your own. So thinking about where in your house is suitable, what time of day works in your schedule, what amount of time feels like you can make a resolve. I'm going to do 10, 15, 20 minutes a day. And even if that doesn't seem possible with your schedule, even 5 minutes. So just thinking through, kind of having a plan so that, so that kind of how you're going to be supporting yourself, because it's so easy to say, oh, yeah, I don't have the time, I'll put it aside. So one thing that I've always taken to heart is just and finding a place, like I said, and whether you're using a cushion or a chair, but just putting your body there, if that's the commitment to do, if that's what you're committing to for yourself, to practice every day, just to put your body there, even if it's been a busy day and you really just want to go to bed, but even if it's just for a few seconds, really, because that's a way of honoring that intention to be awake. And even if it's just a few seconds, I'm just going to sit here, be with my experience, that's kind of acknowledging that intention. So yeah, just noticing resistance that can come up, and just an encouragement to, because any habit takes practice and takes trying it out, seeing how it goes, just encouragement to come to the class and use the class as a support, use this community as a support, So, giving it the 6 weeks, trying it out, seeing how it goes, and seeing what benefits can come. And maybe just a recap of what you can practice with, just these different modes, and generally you just can find what the mind naturally finds interesting, or finds, this mix of interesting and relaxing. So the hearing, the full body awareness, mindfulness of breathing, but just taking the time to give yourself to one of these trainings, in that really gentle, forgiving way. And then, of course, we don't have to stop being aware after the sit, like we've been saying. So, just noticing this whole 6 weeks too, in addition to hopefully having this this ongoing daily practice in your life. Also, this interest in the possibility of being aware in daily life, and we'll talk more about that throughout the class. But yeah, just like Mark was saying, after a sit, a lot of it is, I think, getting to know what that feels like. What is this awareness? What does that feel like? And how does it actually accessible little moments throughout the day where we can sort of remember that intention? It's a cliche, but take a breath. It really can make such a difference. And especially when it illuminates, this mind that, is rushing or whatever. So just these little moments that sometimes just naturally pop up in the day of transition. If you work someplace with a hallway, walking down the hallway, getting up, going to the bathroom, just all these, they can be what we sometimes call mindfulness bells. Oh yeah, here I am. Feels like this. This is what's being known. This is what's being felt. So we're cultivating this interest in awareness, this relaxed awareness. And just the formal practice is just a way of getting clear about that intention and getting clear about what that feels like. And then any other moment during the day when we remember, we can also take that as an opportunity to connect. Oh yeah, I have a body here and now as well. What does it feel like now? And just noticing what that's like. So wishing you all a good week of practice and hope to see you all again next Tuesday. Yeah, and we have been recording this. So if you want to rewatch or we'll send it out to the list. Okay, wishing you a peaceful week.